7. Signs you have a rare shadow energy that radiates both dark and light realms. There is a kind of energy that can't be manufactured, mimicked, or taught. It's ancient, primal, and paradoxical. It doesn't fit neatly into any spiritual box because it was never meant to. This energy is your shadow essence, rare, misunderstood, feared by many, yet deeply respected by both the beings of light and those of darkness. If you carry this energy, you already know it somewhere in your bones. You felt the tension, you've seen the reactions. You stood in rooms that went silent when you entered, not because of who you are on the surface, but because of what you carry beneath it. This isn't about ego or theatrics. It's about frequency. And that frequency speaks louder than anything you could ever say. The first sign you carry this rare shadow energy is that you've always had a complicated relationship with power. Not just external power like authority figures or systems, but internal power. You've sensed from a young age that there's something immense inside you, a force, a presence, a potential that could either create or destroy. And that awareness scared you, didn't it? You probably tried to suppress it, spiritualize it, or ignore it. Maybe you were told you were too much, too intense, too emotional, or too dark. But what they were really responding to wasn't what you did, it was who you are. Because when someone with this rare shadow energy enters a space, everything false begins to tremble.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You're not just light, you're not just shadow, you're both. And this duality is what makes you so rare. Angels are drawn to you because you hold the truth of the human condition without flinching. You don't bypass pain with positivity, you transmute it. You walk through fire and emerge with sacred codes. You shed skins not because it's trendy, but because your very soul demands rebirth after rebirth. Demons? They're drawn to you not to destroy you, but to test you. Because your energy is a mirror. It reflects their chaos back to them. It challenges their illusions. You've probably been through spiritual warfare without ever having a name for it. Energies attaching to you. Dreams that felt like battles. Sudden emotional shifts that came out of nowhere. That's because your vibration is like a beacon in the ether. Both realms pay attention when you move. The second sign is that people project onto you constantly. You've been labeled everything: savior, villain, muse, destroyer. People don't just meet you, they experience you. And they often don't know how to process what they feel, so they assign roles to you based on their own shadows. One person sees you as their healer, another sees you as their threat. The truth? You're just being. But your being is loud in the subtle realms. It activates, it amplifies, it awakens what's been dormant, not just in others, but in places, systems, and even timelines. This is why you might feel drained in crowds, overwhelmed by certain environments, or inexplicably emotional in sacred or cursed spaces. You're not just walking through the world, you're interacting with its hidden architecture. Now let's talk about the third sign. Your emotional range is cosmic. You don't just feel deeply, you feel everything. Joy isn't just happiness to you, it's ecstasy. Sadness isn't just a mood, it's a descent into the underworld. You probably had moments of unexplainable bliss while staring at the stars, and moments of deep despair while brushing your teeth. You're not unstable, you're tuned in. Your nervous system is wired to pick up on interdimensional frequencies. This means you'll feel the grief of a planet, the ecstasy of a soul remembering itself, the rage of injustice, even if none of it is yours. And because of that, you've had to learn the hard way how to regulate energy that most people don't even know exists. That's not weakness, that's training. The fourth sign is that your life has been marked by initiations. Not just challenges, but thresholds. Times when everything you thought you knew got stripped away. Times when you lost everything. Identity, relationships, belief systems, and had to rebuild from zero. These weren't accidents, they were activations. Your energy is so potent that it requires constant refinement. You are not allowed to stay asleep. The universe doesn't let you coast. Every time you try to shrink, something erupts. Every time you try to conform, something breaks. That's because your shadow energy is not here to be tamed, it's here to evolve. And that evolution often begins with destruction. Let me ask you a question so deep it bypasses logic and dives straight into your soul. What would your life look like if you stopped fearing the very energy that makes you divine? What if the chaos you've run from is actually your compass? Because that's the truth of this energy. It's chaotic, yes, but it's also creative. It's destructive, yes, but it's also rebirthing. You are not here to be understood, you are here to be felt. You are here to be remembered on a level beyond language. And the irony is, the more you try to fix yourself, the more you move away from your essence. True power begins when you own the parts of you that don't fit the mold. When you stop trying to be light or dark and start being real. You've always been real. That's why people couldn't handle you. That's why systems tried to break you. That's why energy attaches to you. Because your frequency is not of this world. It's something older, something remembered, something that makes the veils thin and illusions fall. And now, you're awakening to it. This is only the beginning of understanding your rare shadow energy. The deeper we go, the more you'll begin to see that what you thought was your curse is actually your crown. The etheric furnace, why your energy can birth or burn worlds. There's a reason your energy feels so volatile, so intense, so undeniably alive. It's because you're not just carrying light or shadow. You are an etheric furnace, a living crucible where realities are melted down and reborn. When you walk into a room, you don't just enter. You shift the frequency. You may not even be speaking, but your presence alone begins to stir the invisible. Some people feel liberated around you. Others feel threatened. Some feel inexplicably emotional, even if they don't know why. That's the power of your rare shadow energy. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It activates. But here's the paradox. This energy can be both a blessing and a burden. It can birth entire worlds of healing, truth, and transformation, or it can burn through illusion so quickly that people collapse under the weight of their own self-deception. That's why you've always been misunderstood. You're not too much. You're exactly as you were meant to be. The issue is that the world has no template for someone who embodies the extremes of reality with such raw honesty. You weren't designed to be digestible, you were designed to be disruptive. Not in a destructive way, but in a way that forces evolution. Have you ever noticed how people come into your life during their breaking points? When things are falling apart, when they're questioning everything, when they're on the edge of a major spiritual or emotional shift, they find you. It's not coincidence. It's energetic alignment. Your field is like an invitation to face what's been buried. It says, it's time. And for those who are ready, your presence becomes alchemy. They step into your orbit and begin to transform. They begin to burn away false identities, outdated beliefs, and distorted energies without you even trying. That's the furnace in action. You don't force change, you are change. But for those who aren't ready, your energy feels dangerous. It exposes too much too fast. It forces confrontations with parts of themselves they've spent lifetimes avoiding. This is where the projections begin. They might call you manipulative, dark, unstable, or intimidating, not because you've done anything wrong, but because their system doesn't know how to receive the rawness you radiate. And here's the painful truth. Some of those people will try to break you before they break themselves. They'll attack, distance, or betray you, not out of malice, but out of fear. Because standing next to someone who holds that much truth is like standing next to a mirror that reflects everything, even the shadows. So what do you do with this? How do you navigate being an etheric furnace in a world built on comfort, avoidance, and shallow connection? You master your containment, not suppression, not hiding, but conscious containment. You learn to regulate your field, not to make others comfortable, but to keep your power focused. Fire without direction becomes destruction, but fire with intention becomes transformation. You don't need to burn down every room you enter. You need to learn when to warm and when to incinerate. This is energetic maturity, spiritual leadership, and this is the next phase of your evolution. You also start to realize that your energy is a test, not just for others, but for yourself. Can you hold this much power without collapsing into ego? Can you honor your shadow and your light equally? Can you resist the urge to dim around those who can't meet you and instead stay rooted in your truth, even when it's lonely? Because make no mistake, there will be loneliness on this path. When you carry both dark and light realms within you, you exist in a space few understand, but you weren't sent here to be understood. You were sent here to remember, to embody, to ignite. And here's something even deeper. Your energy doesn't just affect people, it affects places, it affects timelines. You've probably noticed that when you travel, things shift. Weather changes, technology glitches, synchronicities spike. You've likely been drawn to certain ancient sites or sacred lands without knowing why. You're a grid walker, a timeline disruptor. You don't just interact with physical reality, you recalibrate it. That's why grounding is so essential for you. If you don't anchor into your body, into the earth, into ritual, you can start to feel like you're unraveling. Not because you're broken, but because your soul is too expansive to be carried by an ungrounded vessel. Let me ask you a question that only a few will truly understand. What if your presence in this lifetime is not about healing others, fixing systems, or proving your worth, but about stabilizing a frequency that no one else can hold? What if your entire life has been preparing you to be a living equilibrium between chaos and order, shadow and light, death and rebirth? You are not a healer in the traditional sense. You are a firekeeper, a gatekeeper, a guardian of the in-between. And the more you own that, the more the right people, places, and timelines will begin to align with you, not because you chased them, but because you became the frequency they were seeking. Your energy can birth or burn worlds. The choice is not in what you carry, but in how you carry it. The mirror of madness, why people break or awaken in your presence. There's a strange phenomenon that follows you. Whether you've noticed it consciously or not, people behave differently around you. Some open up within minutes, sharing their deepest fears, traumas, and dreams like they've known you for lifetimes. Others tense up, grow defensive, even hostile, reacting to you with confusion, suspicion, or resistance. And the most bewildering part? You often don't say much, you just are. This is the power of the mirror you carry. It's not a metaphor, it's energetic. Your rare shadow energy reflects back to people not their surface-level identity, but their unseen self, the parts they've hidden, denied, or buried so deeply they forgot they existed. When someone looks at you, they're not just seeing you, they're seeing themselves. And depending on what they find, they either awaken or they break. There's no middle ground. That's what makes your presence so polarizing. You're not trying to be anything. You're not trying to trigger or heal anyone. You're simply being. But your being is a frequency strong enough to bend illusions. It dissolves masks. It pulls truth out of the shadows like a magnet. And for those who are ready to evolve, your energy feels like a home they forgot they left. For those who aren't, it feels like madness. This is why your relationships have always been intense. Whether short or long, romantic or platonic, they rarely stay shallow. People either disappear or dive deep. You've probably had soul connections that felt like lifetimes compressed into weeks. You've also likely experienced betrayals that came out of nowhere. People who flipped without warning, who turned on you for reasons even they couldn't fully explain. It's not personal, it's energetic pressure. When someone's shadow is not ready to be seen, your presence feels threatening. Not because you're threatening, but because you see them. And being seen when you're not ready to be seen feels like psychological exposure. It's terrifying. So they run, or they attack, or they create stories to justify the discomfort your energy stirred in them. And yet, for those who are ready, your mirror becomes a portal. They begin to remember who they are. They start to awaken dormant parts of themselves just by being around you. You become a kind of spiritual tuning fork, activating frequencies in others they didn't know they carried. You've had people cry in front of you without knowing why. You've had strangers tell you they feel safe or seen in a way they never have before. That's not coincidence, that's resonance. Your shadow energy has reached a point where it no longer hides, it emits. And what it emits is truth. But here's the challenge. Holding that mirror takes its toll. Because while others are projecting, awakening, or purging around you, you're absorbing all of it. You've probably gone through emotional waves that weren't yours. You've walked away from conversations feeling drained, heavy, or confused. That's the cost of being a spiritual mirror. You become a container for other people's revelations, and unless you learn how to clear, ground, and protect your field, you'll carry the weight of awakenings that were never yours to hold. So let me ask you something most people never consider. Are you tired because you're broken, or because you've been reflecting too much of the world that refuses to look at itself? There's power in knowing the difference. When you begin to recognize your field as a mirror, you stop taking things personally. You start observing instead of absorbing. You start responding instead of reacting. And most importantly, you stop shrinking to make others more comfortable. Because the truth is, your energy is not here to be palatable. It's here to be piercing, to remind people of what they've forgotten, to reawaken what they've silenced, to catalyze the kind of evolution that only comes from facing the full spectrum of who we are. Some will call you a gift, others will call you a curse. Both are right, because you are the mirror, and the mirror never lies. The crown of duality, living as a channel between the realms. When you carry a rare shadow energy that bridges light and darkness, you are not merely a person, you are a living threshold, a liminal space, a portal through which both divine and primal forces can move. And once you stop resisting this truth, once you stop trying to fix yourself to fit into a world built on polarity, you begin to wear what I call the crown of duality. It's not a physical crown, of course, it's an energetic one, a signature that radiates from your being, signaling to both seen and unseen realms. This soul has earned the authority to walk between worlds. But let's be honest, this crown was never handed to you. You bled for it, you suffered for it, you died and were reborn countless times. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. You've walked through the infernos of your own psyche. You've held light in one hand and chaos in the other, and somehow found a way to keep walking forward. That's what makes you different. Not because you are better, but because you are willing to feel it all, willing to see it all, willing to hold the paradox of being both divine and deeply human. That willingness is your greatest strength, and it places you in a unique role. You become a channel, not just for messages, but for movement, energetic movement, soul movement, planetary movement. Your body becomes a vessel through which the higher frequencies of light can flow, and through which the undercurrents of shadow can rise to be transmuted. This is why your very presence stirs things in people they can't explain. You're not just speaking to their conscious mind, you're speaking to their soul contracts. You're waking up their forgotten codes. And yet, here's the irony, the more powerful your energy becomes, the more invisible you might feel. Because those who can't match your frequency won't see you clearly. They'll misinterpret your silence as weakness. They'll mistake your intensity for instability. Some will try to use you. Others will try to dim you. But the ones who see you, truly see you, will recognize the royalty you carry in your field. They'll feel the crown, even if they can't name it. They'll feel your duality and bow, not in submission, but in reverence. Because deep down, every soul remembers the archetype you represent, the one who walks between. This role is not about being exalted. It's not about followers or fame. It's about function. You are a stabilizer, a calibrator, a lighthouse for those lost in extremes. In a world that swings violently between toxic positivity and nihilistic despair, your energy says, there is another way, a way that includes it all, a way that honors the light without bypassing the dark, a way that makes space for rage, grief, ecstasy, and truth all at once. So how do you live with this crown? How do you navigate a life where every encounter is a potential initiation? First, you ground daily, deeply, because when you channel this much energy, your nervous system becomes a sacred instrument. You must care for it, feed it, strengthen it, spend time in nature, touch the earth, move your body, speak your truth. These aren't just wellness tasks, they are survival strategies for a soul like yours. Second, you discern. Not everyone deserves access to your field. Not everyone can hold what you carry. That's not judgment, it's spiritual intelligence. Protect your energy like royalty protects sacred ground, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Third, you trust, even when it's hard, even when you feel unseen, even when your path makes no logical sense. Trust that your energy is doing what it came here to do, shifting timelines, awakening codes, holding the frequency of remembrance in a world addicted to forgetting. Let me leave you with this. What if you stopped trying to become something and instead remembered that you already are? What if the crown has been there all along, waiting not to be earned, but to be worn? Because it has, and it's time. You are the storm and the stillness, the darkness and the dawn, the mirror and the flame. You are the crown of duality, and the world is finally beginning to remember what that means.